I think we get the order, so you know, it's really just spreading the love.
So knowing the tremendous amount of lead time and effort that got into making those dies, it would require more than would require at least another die set, right?
To do 1 million vehicles, you probably have 4 more die sets. Wow. You'd have a die set in waiting in case you had to repair a die set, so you would have be able to change them out.
So it's going to be a while before you have the capital to.
Yeah, I mean we could make those die sets in 9 months if we wanted to.
Well, but just the amount of money.
Yeah. So we need more presses too, and the presses have a long lead time, kind of 12 to 14 months for the presses. So how the solar panels are made, there's all kind of the raw material stuff over there, but there's end effector robots over there that take solar cells that are wired together in that white box down there, which we bought from a company called SunPower. Right, and then
referral codes.
And then we paid about 150 grand to recode it to do ours. But that machine shits out these cells.
It's like
and I don't know if you've ever seen
literally that fast.
That fast.
Wow.
I don't know if you've ever seen a pick and place robots where they do the PCBs where they put the micro components in the boards, but it's like lightning fast.
Yeah, it's
But
real.
that one machine can do 50,000 vehicles worth of solar cells a year.
A year.
One machine. So if we want to do 150,000, we need 2 more machines, but it's very capable. So those cells get put together. Then that white robot over there puts them into an assembly, which is how they're organized here. Then that yellow robot over there picks up the assembly and puts it into a form, which is the backing sheet, some polymers in the middle, and then this glass sheet. And then once they're all in that laminate stack and on a mold like this, they get put into this forming machine, which is vacuum, heat, and pressure all at once. Smash it all together for, I think the longest time is the rear hatch. It takes like 5 minutes.
So the glass is flat coming in, and you do the curve.
No, we pre-curve the glass, and it comes in pre-curved, but it gets formed to the glass. So the heat, pressure, and vacuum gets all the air out. So this is an early one where they're still calibrating the machine. Yeah. You can see some air bubbles.
You can see the latest on Gamma.
But it smushes all that air out and melts it just perfectly. It's very similar to the process on how they make laminated safety glass for your front windshield. So obviously they're very good at that. Front windshields, stand the test of time, 30 years old, and they're still just fine. Very similar kind of pressure and forming technology to laminated windshield glass like that. But this is what you end up with, and something that's already gone through 10-year durability. We have a UV testing machine back here that can test a panel to 10 years of UV durability in 3 days. And then a temperature cycler, which takes a bit longer, but it can do 10 years of durability on a panel in about a week. So that's those machines on the back there. And then we come over here and we have our ice gun that shoots 90-mile-an-hour ice balls. And then we have this ball drop test here, which is super fun. And then it's very analog, so we don't need a digital test, but bam! Every different laminate stack has gone through the big steel ball test, and
it's pretty cool.
Good to see.
Same steel ball.
Something about the analog.
Same steel ball that failed the Cybertruck, right?
It is actually. We went on stage and we stole it. But if anybody wants to do a steel ball drop test, pull that.
Oh, I love analog.
Who wants to do some analog testing?
Somebody filming this. I know.
You are all now officially part of the Aptera validation
Research team.
Cool.
Wait, guys, you have this? Oh, wow,
That's right.
Sure.
Pull it out and bam.
Very violent.
All right, if anybody wants to come back later, I'll bring you back personally and you can drop balls. This is the hail gun test. It shoots 1-inch diameter hail balls into that test panel at 90 miles an hour. And if it does okay, then everything's good. This is a cool little bit about our suspension. We have a trailing link rear suspension, so it's a 4-link suspension on the back. And that helps the rear wheel float very predictably. The single-sided swing arms you see in Polaris slingshots and the Solo and some other vehicles, it adds some quirky suspension characteristics to your vehicle, the Arcimoto. But we have a 4-link suspension. It feels very automotive-like. It has almost identical suspension characteristics to a VW Golf. So, not the most crazy sporty thing, but a VW Golf tricked out, people.
Like a
people
go-kart.
do that. Yeah. But this is some actual bits of the suspension, lower control arm, upper control arm, rear swing arm, dampening. This is our early version of the inverter, but it got much smaller. This is one of the upright knuckles in the rear. This is one of the upright knuckles in the front. This is what holds onto that wheel pant, and the upper control arm here and lower control arm here.
This is CNC.
These are all CNC, but in production, this is hollow cast, pressure casting. This is die cast. This is die cast. And these, I think these are sand cast, actually. I don't think they're pressure cast.
And they're finished up with a mill.
Yep. Finished up with the for tolerance and stuff.
So the Alphas, they have like the control arm that moves the steering wheel like right behind the upper arm, and I think in
Yeah, we found out aerodynamically that trailing this arm has more wind resistance than keeping it separated. So we tried to separate these 3 arms. So there's a tiller, a push rod to the tiller for the knuckle. We try to keep it in the middle as much as possible so it can get clean air between the 3 arms. Most of the aerodynamic drag from the Aptera comes just in the suspension. Because you see this and this is basically a funnel that funnels air between the vehicle and the wheel pant. So that high pressure air is almost all of the aerodynamic drag of the Aptera. The main body structure is basically aerodynamically neutral.
Turbulence is bad. Right?
So once we can invent something that can make the Aptera float, we can get rid of the aerodynamic drag of the tire. But for now, where the tire hits the ground and the suspension is where it's the dirtiest aerodynamically. So we worked very hard to clean it up as much as possible. Finished in just enough time for questions. Maybe a cool bit, we have all our 3D printers and fun stuff back there. We do a lot of MSLA. If you want to get into 3D printing, MSLA acrylic resin printers are great. You can get them on Amazon for like $200. And you can learn it in a half an hour's worth of YouTube videos. But it prints on a resin base. That orange window back there, machine, can print a resin print as big as my head, and it does it by having a vat of resin down here and a plate that squishes down, and then a UV light cures the resin in a certain shape, and the platen lifts up, and then it comes back down and it prints another layer, and it prints another layer, and eventually you grow this part out of acrylic resin. And when it's done, it's crazy accurate in terms of tolerancing. It looks really good. And that machine is probably $2,000. But the cheap ones, if you have kids or something that you want to get into to resin printing, like send me Aptera.us. I'll send you a link to a resin printer if you want to get into it. But we use that for interior parts, and we use that for prototyping some of the metal parts. So if you're looking for fit and function, you can just 3D print a metal part and then see, okay, it works, and I can get the screw in here, and then you pay to have it done in metal because metal's so much more expensive. So these have just been a godsend because they're so accurate and they're so cheap. I mean, a part like that upright over there printed in that machine is probably $15 worth of material. So, you got to pay for the machine, $2,000, but if you were to send that out years ago to get machined by a CNC machine, that'd be a $3,000 part. So you're saving money right away. But any questions you guys have before we go? A couple quick ones. Go ahead.
And good to see you. In forming the large, like the tub, for instance, okay, you talk about putting a blob of material in there, but doesn't that necessitate a long blob of material?
Yeah, you have to strategically put it in the mold because the pressure of the clam, it's an upper and lower mold. They come together and they squish out the material.
Okay.
So in an injection mold, you'd have a cavity, you'd inject plastic in and it would just fill it up. Right. This is kind of the same principle in that, the heat and pressure of that squishes all the material out into your form and it just fills the cavity.
So real quickly, the process, so the mold opens up, part comes out, we're starting a new part now. So does a robot put inserts in there?
Yep.
And then you put in blobs of material, and then the hole starts closing?
People usually do.
People do.
All of our
Okay.
parts are people.
Okay.
So a person comes and puts the inserts in, and they put the plastic blobs in, and then it closes up. But putting the inserts in and the plastic blobs, less than 2 minutes.
Okay.
Window glass, standard automotive glass.
Thinner, but yes, standard
Okay.
automotive
And
glass.
then I got a quick with you.
Yep.
Lafe motors is a real critical part. Is there any risk to not getting those? And if so, is there like a substitute for Bosch or something?
We have a license for their design, so if Lafe can't supply them, we'll build them ourselves.
I was
Boom.
gonna
That's what I wanted.
exactly, when I talked to the Lafe representative at Fully Charged, he talked about a bunch of design wins that they would be announcing soon after that. And I have not seen them. So I was gonna
They're
ask if-
coming. Yeah, they're doing
They're
really
still
cool
happening.
stuff. Yeah, they're
So Lafay's healthy and everything's good.
Yeah.
All the Bink body parts are not assembled with bolts. They're glued.
They're
together.
bonded.
They're bonded with
They're
glue
bonded.
adhesive.
Steve always
with an-
tells me you
with an
can't say
adhesive.
glued because it sounds cheap. They're
You're right.
bonded
You're right.
together.
You're right. Adhesive. That's fine. So you have a damaged part. You have to replace it. What do? You slice at the bonding point. How do you get those parts apart?
The bond is stronger than the part. So you cut off the old part, then you grind down the bonding flange back to where you see the mating surface.
Had to ask.
Yep.
Had to ask.
Once you have all the battery pack configurations and the solar configurations that you want to make for the Aptera, at that point, do you focus on expanding out the production of that vehicle, or do you start to look to making more vehicles in different segments?
It's interesting. Our revenue model is such that now we can monetize our solar, we can monetize our battery, we can monetize our human machine interface, the digital controls and stuff, and we can monetize the vehicle. I wouldn't be surprised if we have more revenue coming from our solar and our batteries over time than we do the actual vehicle. But we aspire to get as many solar vehicles out in the world as possible. We want to have every journey traveled powered by the sun. So, whether it's a delivery vehicle or whether it's a bigger sedan vehicle or an adventure truck, we want to get into other variants of our vehicle as quickly as possible because, we don't want to stop at delivering 1 million Apteras. We want to deliver millions and millions and millions of Apteras and hopefully inspire the world that, efficient transportation and solar power is the way
Does
to go.
that mean 4-wheel at some point?
Yep.
Do you see your solar panels being on other vehicles?
Yep. We have a pilot program with a couple very big institutions. I can tell you privately if you want to know. But yes, we have some really cool pilot programs starting to adopt our solar technology. And I think in the next 3 months, it'll be battery too. You guys want a group picture?
Yeah.
It's unfortunately a $600,000 check to get the steering wheel designed. So right now it's designed for trackball push, a lot like the Model 3.
Yeah.
But it might not be that. I'm not really sure. We've got a lot of cool new switches coming out. But the cool thing about our steering wheel is we want to make them all mappable, so you can map them to any function you want. So if you want to change whatever button to something else, you just change it in the user interface.
For the comma system, so I think it's been said that the initial launch editions that have comma as an option, that it's just going to be a comma 3X mounted on the windshield.
We should have custom hardware by the time we start.
Oh, for actual launch.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
it'll be a. We have a branch of the software,
Yeah.
and we can make whatever hardware we want
Yeah.
from the open source design. But we'll put it in a plastic module that basically you take the rear view camera out and plug this in.
Okay. Okay.
He's asking about the comma. So he used to work for comma, and he's been driving most of the program.
I've got it in my Bolt, so
Oh,
I
nice.
use it all the time.
I was telling him we'll probably have custom hardware.
Yeah, we will.
You look so sexy.
Hey, how you been?
You have
Fernando?
another way.
You want to head back over and
What you been doing?
Too sexy.
All right.
You are